so again, I've got everything all welded up. I just showed you the upper side with that channel iron plate right up there to miss all these lines right here that are, you know, plumbed into the rack and pinion. I showed you right back here that little blind nut hole cut out that you got to make there. All right, and so now you can actually see, you know, the plate bracket itself is all welded in right here. I also have the other one on the other side where we had to cut that hole in the frame and put the blind nut through, and then we had to actually weld that one in. I will tell you that after I got done welding it, I don't know what happened, but those nuts in there, they kind of shrunk up a little bit. So I actually had to run a ½ inch by 16 tap back through those in order to get those bolts to go in and out freely. I'm glad I checked it with the rack off, you know, just put the bolts up there and try it, because yeah, I don't know, it went in for about maybe half a turn or so, and then it really started to tighten down. So nonetheless, you know, you might have to do that. I did. Okay. I'm going to take all this rack and pinion off. I'm just doing it here now for just kind of checking things. But I'm going to take it off and I'm going to do a lot more grinding, you know, just to kind of dress it up just a little bit more and take some of the sharp edges off. This plate right here has a pretty sharp corner right here, and it doesn't really need to be that big as far as the plate goes. So I'm going to round it off nicely and just do a little bit of, you know, work, so to speak. As you remember, I took this cross member off here. So because I took this cross member off, and all of this stuff here is spot welded together, you know, I'm pretty much weakening this suspension now. You know, you've got, I mean, yeah, you've got a frame rail, you got a frame rail there. Yeah, this bolts in and it takes part of the structural member, so to speak, okay, because it is a pretty heavy duty rack and pinion. But again, I personally, you know, like the idea of tying this side to this side again for structural rigidity, because, you know, you've got the lower A-arm sitting right in here, and you got the lower A-arm sitting right in here. So, you know, that lower A-arm has got a little bit of leverage for this to, you know, move around and push and pull and all that kind of stuff. And so I just want to tie this side to this side, and again, make that thing removable so we can actually take it out and access the oil pan if we wanted to. And I don't know, I think I'm going to have to take the rack and pinion out too, which is what it's meant to do, actually. Just unbolt it and take it out in order to access, you know, to get the oil pan out. But trust me, that's a lot easier than always just, you know, yanking the motor out, right? Why would I need to do that? I don't know. Why not? You know, why not make it very accessible and easy to work on if you want to do so? That's how I look at things. I'm looking at things functional more than I am for looks anymore. I mean, yeah, I want it to look decent. I don't want it to look like a rusty piece of junk, but at the same time, you know, I want more functionality and maintenance ability than anything else. So, again, because it's all spot welded together, all this stuff, you can see I went the extra mile. I mean, I'm not trying to put 10 pounds of wire feed, you know, from the welder on this thing, but you can see I'm actually making sure that all this stuff is not going to pop any of these spot welds loose, etc. You know, just putting some tack welds pretty much anywhere and everywhere where, you know, these joints, you know, are to the frame or to whatever, making it more solid. So, and again, now, what am I going to use for this right here? Okay, well, originally I had the thought in mind that I was going to use like a 1 inch or 1.25 inch piece of black pipe, basically, right here, and then, you know, start tying it in. I had actually a piece here the other day, and I was looking at it, and what I could do is I could tie in 2 bolts here with some flat iron, and then I could actually take this old motor mount bolt here and put a piece of flat iron and angle it off here and touch and weld to the that pipe. I could also, if you can see it, back in here, there's another old motor mount bolt right there that I could actually put a piece of metal on there and come out and grab it and weld it. So I could really do a number as far as tying it up, because you know you want to make sure that you know that this thing is going to be doing this and it's going to be doing, you know, that, and you want to just tie it up to where it can't move in any shape, way, or form, if at all possible. And so my friend here, who has all these other cars here, he remembered that he had this, and this is, I think, a cross member for a 67, we think, you know, and it's got the factory bends in it, and it's got a few bumps on it, but I don't really think that's gonna matter. And anyway, I was thinking about somehow putting it in here like that. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, is I'm going to be trying to modify this to fit in here like so, or I'm going to go get that piece of straight pipe, black straight pipe, and I'm going to do that. But anyway, that's basically what's going on here right now, is trying to get that cross member in. As soon as I get the cross member in, and I know that it's going to work with this right here, then I'm going to start working on those aftermarket motor mounts that I have. So that'll be next. One other thing that I want to point out too, while I got this thing rolling. Okay, so Jason with Auto Edits. I remember when I saw his complete setup, when he was all done, I remember his pipe right here was just on the outside edge of this frame rail here on the passenger side. And that's his setup, okay? Now, you can see right here that I've got about from, not from the bolt head here, but from this bracket right there, this metal bracket right there, to this adjustable mounting bracket, I've got about 3/8 of an inch. So I could go down 3/8 of an inch, and I probably could have been exactly where Jason had his, which would make this pipe be on the outside of that frame rail, okay? Well, mine didn't turn out that way. And, you know, to be honest with you, when you look at this piece, this is my guide. My guide is these lower control arm mounts or cups or whatever you want to call them. But I'm going off of this thing right here and right here. Okay, so I know I have the rack and pinion centered, and so off of this thing right here, when you look at it, it looks like it's going pretty much straight center to that hole right there. Now, this one here, when you look at this one, it looks like it's just catching the edge of that hole. So technically, the way I'm looking at this right now, this rack and pinion is probably a little bit to the driver's side, just a tad, okay? I'm not worried about it, because you can make up that difference in your tie rod adjustment. Easily, you can make that up in your tie rod adjustment. Is it gonna be absolutely, you know, perfect? Absolutely not. But it's going to be good enough for me, all right? So all I'm saying is that with this right here at its widest adjustment, because, you know, these eccentric eliminators, they basically have, you know, several adjustments, and Jason started at the widest setting, and I did as well. So if you start as the widest setting, and you basically take this bracket and set it right up against these bolt heads, I would almost say then, at least in my situation, I would almost say that this rack and pinion, as far as that bolt hole right there lining up with this, and that bolt hole lining up with this side, would probably have been dang near perfect, okay? but mine's going to be off just a tad, and I'm okay with that because again, I can make up all that adjustment that I need with the tie rod ends. Okay, so, and also if I would have done that, if I would have set you know, this particular thing all the way down against this mounting bracket that goes off of this eccentric or this lower control arm bolt mount, then I probably would not have needed to cut a little notch in my frame, because then this pipe here would have actually probably been out there far enough, kind of like in Jason's situation. However, as you can see here, I still have a little bit more notching to go. I actually notched it or marked it the way it was sitting, but I got it more tight now. Before, this thing was kind of floppy and loose, and you know, basically you can see I got plenty of clearance on this side, and I need to take a little bit more over on this side to make this work. Now, that's the other thing too, with Jason, he actually put those, if you remember, you get spacer plates that can go underneath this to bring this down. Now, of course, I want this thing to be as low profile as possible, and tucked up as far up as possible. Of course, we also have to get the suspension in here, and then we have to put this, get the lower A-arms and the suspension and everything all nice and level, you know, basically in a straight, you know, in a nice straight line, basically. And then we should take that rack and pinion after we hook the tie rod ends, and we need to make them all nice and level across there when the suspension is in the level position. I would imagine that's how you set it up, but that's how I plan to set it up. If I did that, maybe then I would need, you know, some spacers right here, and then this would raise it away from this frame rail, and I might not have to notch it. Honestly, this little bit of metal coming out of that frame rail is not going to hurt anything. So I'm just going to do that because I can, and because, you know, just want to make sure that we don't have any reasons why, you know, things are rubbing against the frame, etc. So as of right now, at this point, at this step, you can see, you know, my rack and pinion is in the car. It is basically all the pieces are welded. I'm probably, I don't know if I remember, when I take this off, I will actually get a video of, you know, everything with the rack and pinion off and all the welds and everything, so you can kind of see what I had before I bolted it back up. And then, you know, we'll move on to the next step.